Hi, my name is Kyle McEnery, and I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and this is my educational autobiography. For me, school was always an incredibly positive place for me. From the moment I started preschool to the day I finished high school, I never had a day where I dreaded going to school. The majority of the pictures that I'm going to show will reflect how happy I was at school. I always viewed school as a place to spend time with peers and not just learn about topics such as math, science, and history, but to learn about other people and learn to love those around me. School is a social place for me, and I love coming into school every day to see my friends. Outside of the social side of school, I actually enjoyed the learning aspect of school as well. Way too often I would hear students complain about class and listening in class, but I thoroughly enjoyed discussions in class and learning new information, especially in math. Throughout my whole school career, math intrigued me, and I spent so much time trying to master all the concepts of math. Aside from waking up early and the late nights of homework, there were very few aspects of school I did not enjoy. I've always been a very quick learner throughout school. In grade school, I attended St. Simon the Apostles, a Catholic K-8 school in South County, St. Louis. It was a relatively small school with about 40 kids per class, but it was a really active school with lots of engaging activities. When I was in grade school, I would grasp concepts much faster than other kids, so my teachers would ask me to help other students. I have a vivid memory of mastering long division in third grade with a few other classmates, and we went out into the hallway while my teacher worked with the other students. The whole time, we just tried to keep getting bigger and bigger equations, and I enjoyed it. And I enjoyed deepening my knowledge of math and understanding long division. As I moved into middle school, I became more of an active learner. My 8th grade history teacher would have a social learning game for vocab, and I remember discussing historical topics with both my teacher and my classmates. And then I graduated and started high school at St. Louis University High School, or SLU for short, an all-boy Jesuit college prep school located right outside Forest Park in St. Louis. SLU had about 1,000 students and had the clubs and activities for their publicity topic right next to their academics. When I started in high school, my learning style shifted a little because of the change in the environment. So I started off by putting learning aside and tried to meet people first. I put little focus on my work, and I know I learned far less my freshman year than I did any other year. As high school progressed, I learned that one-on-one conversations with my teachers were the best way for me to learn. So I would listen and discuss in lectures, and then I would try to talk to my teachers about concepts after class or during my free periods. I was always the student that tried to answer as many questions as possible in class and tried to get the teachers to like me as much as possible. I was a student who would actively try to find students who were struggling and help them to understand it. I understood what it felt like to be frustrated and not understand a concept, so when I could tell a teacher wasn't connecting with a kid, I would try to explain to them how I saw the concepts. As good of a learner as I was always a procrastinator and sometimes barely got work in on time. I struggled a lot with procrastination, not because I was disappointed in myself or stressed out, but because I didn't want to let my teachers down. When I think of teachers, I typically think of ones that I connected with really well. I think of a teacher named Mrs. Namera. She made an incredible effort to understand what was going on in every student's life, which really stood out to me. This was the same teacher who helped me understand long division. She had a great way of giving broad introductions to topics and letting kids understand it, and then spent more time with that. I also think of my Algebra 2 trig teacher, Mr. Steingruby. He's one of the most clever and warm people I ever met. He made his classroom a strict place for learning, but he wasn't afraid to make a joke. His wit allowed him to make jokes and puns about concepts and engage students in the class. He would teach for a few minutes, then give students time to work on a problem while he walked up and down the desk looking at everyone's thought processes. He was able to step inside the shoes of his students and understand their thinking patterns by looking at what they were working on. When I think of school, I think of moments like this with Mr. Steingruby. I think of connecting with people and meeting and learning together. I picture a community. A huge part of what I think about when I picture school are the activities I was involved in during my high school days. I think of the school newspaper that I wrote for was such a strong, encouraging environment of learning about the truth. I think of being on the track at practice, bonding with my teammates. I think of my free periods where I would laugh with my friends and work on homework in an open classroom. Passing anyone in the halls was a pleasant occasion because everyone got along so well here. These moments of shared happiness to be at a school and to be with the community are what I think about when I think about school. As I entered both St. Simon and SLU, I immediately felt comfortable. Both schools had a very distinct smell that made me feel at peace. Every year I would come back to school on the first day and smell the hallway's specific smell and would be so overjoyed to be back in the hallways again. Both schools felt so homey, and I could easily say hello to someone the first second I entered the building. When I close my eyes and picture myself at St. Simon, I think about the time when I was out in the hallway working on homework with other students. We would laugh as we work and gave the learning environment a positive energy. I see one long hallway that contains every classroom in the school. I'd see my teachers in a colorful classroom making meaningful yet goofy lectures that connected to every kid. I would feel safe and secure and at peace. Some of my most memorable moments at St. Simon's were times in this hallway. My teachers would send us out there to work on things because we would have a solid grasp on concepts, and I vividly remember sitting in a cluster of chairs in the hallways, working ahead on homework, and laughing with my grade school friends about books like Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I remember getting involved with St. Simon's youth group in 7th grade and learning about my faith life. This youth group has stuck with me all the way up to this day. When I imagine myself back at SLU, I feel like I am immediately back home. I would see my friends walking up and down the hallways laughing. I would see people hanging out in classrooms, the commons, the campus ministry offices. I would see smiles, bright blue colors, and posters for events such as the back-to-school mixer, the state hockey game, or the coffee house event on Spirit Week. I would hear the long announcements at the end of the day from our Stuco Spirit leader talking about a hockey game, or our dean of students reading off lists of students who need to see him. I feel a little cold because that building is always freezing. Some of my favorite memories from SLU are either in ordinary moments or big ones. I remember taking trips to Washington, D.C. or Paris, France for history trips. I remember winning racquetball nationals 3 years in a row. I remember the annual back-to-school mixers and dances that SLU would host. But when I think about SLU, I mostly think about the times during my free periods when I would sit in an empty classroom with friends and joke and work on homework for a little while. Every once in a while, a teacher would come by and we'd chat with them about some discussion for a while as well. When I think about SLU, I think about the strong connections that were made between students and faculty. School to me seems like the perfect place to connect with people and show that learning is not just about math, but about a community. I'm incredibly grateful to have had such a positive experience throughout grade school and high school, and that is part of the reason why I want to be a teacher. I hope that when I teach, I can give students a positive atmosphere so that they can feel safe when they learn and find a way to connect what we're learning to their own lives. Thank you.